X-Men Apocalypse is the sequel to X-Men Days Future Past, and this film is pretty good, but not as great as Days Future Past. I didn't expect it to be as great as Days Future Past, but it does have flaws. So we open up, we get Xavier. He's narrating the early events. We get to see a ritual of Apocalypse. So we fast forward into the future. We get to see a Cyclops. He's learning how to deal with his powers. We also see the introduction of Nightcrawler, Archangel. They're in a fighting club. We get to see Mystique rescues Nightcrawler. We also see Magneto after the events of Days of Future Past. He's married. He also has a daughter. Then we get to see Apocalypse. He awakens from his slumber. When he awakens, it causes an earthquake. And Jean Grey is able to feel his presence, and it kind of rattles everyone in the X-Mansion, because her powers are pretty strong, and they will come to play in these future films. So we get to see Xavier come in. He tries to calm her down. He tells her it's just a dream, but Xavier knows more than that. So he goes and he's looking for the source of the epicenter, and he finds Moira MacTaggert there in Egypt. So he goes to Egypt. He finds Moira MacTaggert, and she's telling him the story of the Apocalypse and how he's the first mutant, and there's different cults looking for him. Meanwhile, we have Apocalypse. He's rebuilding his four horsemen. We see him taking Storm, Psylocke, and Angel. Magneto's also to feel the force of Apocalypse's powers, and it was at an iron workshop where he works at. Well, the place starts shaking. One of the workers is about to fall into. They're about to fall off a balcony into they're about to fall off a balcony. I forgot the term what it's called, but it's where there's like a bowl, there's like fire in it. It's where they bend the metal, but he saves one of them by using his powers. And one of the ironworkers there gives him like a weird look. So they call the police on him. And the police figured out that he is Magneto from 10 years ago. He tried to kill the president. And his daughter is a mutant too. She has the power to call to nature. She can sing to nature and communicate with him. And she starts saying a prayer. And the guards become scared. They accidentally fire an arrow, and it kills Magneto's wife and daughters. And he engulfs in a rage, and he kills the police. He goes back to the iron workshop, tries to kill the workers who called the police on him. Meanwhile, Apocalypse shows up. He takes out the men for him, and he takes Magneto to Auschwitz to convince him to join his four horsemen. And I like this Auschwitz scene because it reminds Magneto of his past tragedies. And we can see Magneto just destroy Auschwitz apart. It's one of the best scenes in the movie. And we get to see Raven, Mystique. She speaks to Caliban. Caliban gives Raven clues about other mutants, and he gives her a clue about Eric Lyncher and what happened in Germany. So she goes to Charles Xavier and tell him what happened with Magneto, and Xavier uses Cerebro to find him. But Apocalypse, he knows that Xavier is tracking him, and they go to Cerebro, where they abduct Professor X. Meanwhile, an explosion happens at the X-Mansion. You can see Quicksilver comes in. He does another Quicksilver scene. I like this one. It's a bit more difficult, more complex, not as good as the one in Days of Future Past, but still well done. But it comes at a loss. Havoc, Cyclops' brother, he was in the explosion and did not make it. And Cyclops was in a emotional distraught. And when Stryker comes in, and he takes the mutants to some type of prison at Alkali Lake. And we see Jean Grey, Cyclops, Nightcrawler, they all aboard a helicopter as stowaways, and they free Wolverine. Hugh Jackman makes a cameo in this movie, and Wolverine's able to free the other members of the X-Men. So the final scene, the final battle takes place in Egypt. We get to see Apocalypse using his powers to destroy parts of New York, the Sydney Opera House. You get to see a great showdown between Professor X and Apocalypse in the cerebral plane. You can see, Apocalypse. He enlarges himself. He beats down Xavier. And at the end, we get to see Jean Grey, and she releases her powers as the Phoenix. She's able to take out Apocalypse. And at the end, we see the X-Mansion being rebuilt from the explosion. Xavier and Magneto, they have a conversation. And the quote that they say in this conversation is the same thing that Xavier and Magneto said in X2. Then we take a look into the Danger Room as the X-Men are preparing for their next mission. And they're training with the Sentinels. This probably foreshadows that maybe the Sentinels will be coming back. There's a post-credit scene. It shows a couple of businessmen walking in with a briefcase that says Essex Corporations. And Essex Corp is ran by Nathaniel Essex, also known as Mr. Sinister. So a clue that he may appear in the next X-Men movie. It also foreshadows the events that will happen in Logan, as they are collecting DNA left behind by Wolverine. So X-Men Apocalypse. I thought it was pretty good. 8 out of 10. I like Apocalypse showing his abilities. Thought they did pretty well with him. I like the scene where he's destroying parts of New York. The Sydney Opera House in Australia, Auschwitz. My only flaws with this movie is that I wish there was more destruction. Wish it showed more of what Apocalypse can do. I didn't really like the Four Horsemen. I didn't like Storm, Psylocke, or Angel being the Four Horsemen. I wish they used the original Four Horsemen. I didn't really like they got killed off early in the beginning of the movie. I was fine with Magneto. He probably could have been a fifth Horseman. But yeah. Another problem they didn't really have the old guys they had in Days of Future Past. That was my concern. What made me really love Days of Future Past is they brought back the guys from the X-Men trilogy. I love those guys. I like the new cast too. They're great in their own ways. But the old cast to me are somewhat better. And that kind of weakened this crew here. First Class was fun. But when they put them together with the old cast of Days of Future Past, it really wanted me to see Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart in this next film. They're going up against a being, Apocalypse, who can destroy the world. Some scenes I want her to be Wolverine, or Ian McKellen, or Patrick Stewart, or some of the older guys in the X-Men movies to take this guy out, instead of the newer members, because they don't really have a lot of experience of being in the X-Men. But Apocalypse, I thought it was pretty good, 8 out of 10. Some flaws with it, but I felt like it kind of did its job.